The house on the hill. I never believed in ghosts. Not really. Oh, I'd heard the stories, creaking floors, flickering lights, strange noises in the night, but I always thought they were just that, stories. Superstitions passed down from one generation to the next, concocted to entertain or frighten children, but not based in any real truth. That all changed the day I moved into the old Victorian house on the hill. The house had been on the market for months, and when I saw the for sale sign, I couldn't resist. It was perfect, big enough for my growing family, with a large yard for the kids and enough bedrooms to have a guest room and maybe even an office. The real estate agent's pitch was hard to resist. Built in 1890, with original fixtures and stunning woodwork throughout. Needs some love, but it could be your dream home. When we finally closed the deal, I couldn't believe our luck. The price was almost laughably low, especially for a house with such character. The agent warned me that there had been unexplained occurrences reported over the years, but I brushed it off. Old houses have creaky floors, right? They settle, pipes make strange noises, and old wiring can sometimes cause flickers in the lights. Nothing a little renovation wouldn't fix. The first few days were blissful. My wife, Claire, and our two kids, Sam and Lily, were ecstatic to have a new place to call home. We spent the weekends unpacking boxes and exploring the house, checking out the attic, the basement, the secret rooms hidden behind bookshelves. It was like we were living in a fairy tale, but that all changed on the fourth night. It started with the noises. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of whispering. It was faint at first, almost like it was coming from a dream. But as I blinked the sleep away, the whispers grew louder, louder still. I sat up, listening, trying to pinpoint the source. The air was heavy, thick with silence except for those soft murmurs. It was almost like they were speaking in code, but I couldn't make out any words. Just the wind, I thought, but the windows were closed, and the house was sealed tight. There was no wind. I lay back down, my heart racing, and tried to convince myself it was just the old pipes settling again. The next night, the whispers were louder. I couldn't ignore them this time. They seemed to come from all around me, almost as if they were coming through the walls. I woke Claire, but when I tried to describe the noise, she just looked at me with concern. "You're just hearing things," she said, her voice comforting but unconvincing. I wanted to believe her, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. The third night, the whispers were joined by footsteps. I was sitting in the living room, watching TV after the kids had gone to bed. The noise was unmistakable. Heavy footsteps on the wooden floor above me, moving slowly, as if someone were pacing. I paused the show and held my breath, listening for any other sound that could explain the noise. Maybe the house settling, maybe a raccoon in the attic. But the footsteps grew louder, heavier, until they stopped directly above me. I jumped up and rushed to the staircase, but when I reached the top, the footsteps were gone. The house was silent again, as if nothing had happened. That's when the nightmares started. Every night, I'd be back in that old house, only it wasn't my house. The rooms were different. No furniture, just empty spaces filled with shadows. I'd hear the whispers again, clearer this time, speaking my name over and over, like an incantation. I'd try to run, but my legs felt like they were made of lead, and the footsteps would follow me, getting closer and closer, until I was backed into a corner, the darkness swallowing me whole. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, Claire by my side, asking if I was okay. "Maybe it's stress," Claire said one morning as I stumbled out of bed, my eyes red and swollen from the nightmares. "I don't think so," I replied, shaking my head. "There's something in this house." She looked at me like I was losing my mind. "Honey, it's an old house. Every old house creaks and moans. You're just letting your imagination run away with you." I wanted to believe her, but the feeling in my gut told me otherwise. That night, Claire and the kids were out at a birthday party, leaving me alone in the house for the first time since we moved in. I decided it was time to confront whatever was in there. Armed with a flashlight and a sense of dread, I started going through the house, room by room. The first few rooms were nothing out of the ordinary, dusty and dark, filled with old furniture covered in sheets. But when I reached the attic, something made me pause. The door was slightly ajar, something that hadn't been the case when we first moved in. I pushed it open and climbed the narrow stairs. The attic was the stuff of horror stories. Spider webs clinging to the corners, old boxes stacked haphazardly against the walls. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. I reached for the light switch, but nothing happened. I turned on my flashlight and began to explore. The first box I opened was filled with old newspapers, yellowed and brittle. The ink faded beyond recognition. There were books too, their spines cracked and pages falling out. But it was what I found at the bottom of the last box that stopped me cold. A set of old photographs. They were black and white, fading with age. The images were of the house, my house, but they weren't the same. These were pictures of the house in its prime, before it was abandoned. The yard was filled with children playing, and a young family stood on the porch, smiling. And there, behind the family, was a figure. A woman, her eyes hollow, her mouth twisted into a silent scream. I dropped the photograph and backed away, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I searched the rest of the attic, but found nothing more. I decided it was time to leave the house, to pack up and move on. But as I reached the stairs, the whispering started again. Leave, leave, leave. It grew louder, closer, until it seemed to be in my ear. The words not just whispers but actual sounds. Don't leave, it seemed to say, don't leave us. I turned and ran, my feet slipping on the dust-covered floor, my flashlight spinning wildly as I tore through the house. By the time I made it to the front door, I was screaming, the whispering following me the entire way. I threw open the door and stumbled into the night, gasping for air, my heart pounding in my ears. I didn't look back. That was a month ago, and I still haven't been able to forget about the house on the hill. Claire and the kids are long gone. Claire took a job across the country, and the kids wanted to stay close to their friends. I'm alone now, left with nothing but memories and the occasional nightmare. And every now and then, I see it, a flicker in the corner of my eye, a shadow just out of reach. I think the house is still there, just beyond the edge of my vision, waiting. Sometimes I hear the whispering again, not the low, menacing voice from the house, but the same voice, pleading, crying, calling out to me. Don't leave, don't leave. I've stopped telling people about it. They think I'm going crazy, hearing things, seeing things that aren't really there. But I know what I heard. I know what I saw. The house on the hill is still there, and it doesn't want me to leave.